It's a very good. I mean, it's so many layers to it, and it definitely is about the disparities. So it's a great movie. Anyway, that's another
American
time.
fiction, in case you
Yeah.
Hi, this is the new streamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcasts, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. It's the last one of the year.
I know, we're wrapping it up with in style. So we're going to
Yes.
talk today about how to start your new year right. And there's so many layers and ways to get prepared for the new year. And I think one of the things that is often really helpful to start out is like, how would you like to feel at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and the end of the year? Because if you think about that, how would you like to feel? What would you like to have accomplished? What things do you want to expand your mind? That could give you a lot of direction of what kind of things to look into or make lists about. And certainly between now and next week, when we're entering the new year, to be thinking, how do you want to close out your year? Because I think closing is just as important as how you're going to open it again, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I would say one of the most important things to do is to have closure and completion for the year that's already gone before we start clearing out, because it is clearing out space for the new year, but also there's some of us that we think that we'll just like go back and do over what we did last year. It's like if you don't close out the previous, it does tend to repeat itself. So part of this topic we'll talk today, of course, is about how to make that an easy or a graceful completion so you can move forward to the new year with a clean slate, so to speak.
Maybe not stumble into the new year. Graceful sounds great to me.
Or slide in drunk. I don't know. There's ways of doing it wrong.
It was never my way. I do know some people, and I think it's really important to at least make a conscious choice about what you're going to do and not do.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was a lot younger, I did do that a couple of times just to
Yeah.
own up to it.
Well, good. I mean, try it once. I never
Ultimately.
did because I don't like the feeling. It wasn't because I was
Right.
being so virtuous, because I just don't like the feeling. So I was thinking about some of the closing out things, and I thought one really minor that could feel maybe doable or easy for people is clean out a drawer or straighten a drawer. Just one drawer in your office, in your kitchen, just somewhere. Pick a drawer, dump it out. And all the organizers that I know say it has to qualify to go back in the drawer. Is this
Mm-hmm.
really where it needs to live? Does it need to live someplace else in your house? Does it need to live at somebody else's house? Does it need to live in the trash? And I found people are like, really, one drawer? I go, try it. The worst that'll happen is you have a clean drawer and you don't feel any different. Pretty close to 100% people go, I got a little sense of accomplishment. I go, I know. And what happens with a little sense of accomplishment is encourage you to go do another thing. Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting around going, all my drawers are messy and I can't clean them all and it's all too much work, well, how are you going to feel after you said all that? Or if you said, I cleaned one drawer and I don't have to do any more, and I feel a sense of accomplishment for cleaning my one drawer. I
Yeah.
think that's a really great start in one area of your life. Then that's closing out the year with one clean drawer.
And it sounds really that only takes that much. You don't have to do everything, because some people go, to do a major purge, clearing things out and get rid of everything, start over. The thing is, it's kind of like, throwing out the baby with the bathwater in a way, because it's a sense of just going to make everything start over from scratch and do a whole new thing. And the way you put it, which is very simple, is that idea that you just pick one area, one focus, one compartment of your life to do a clean out in. And it could be a physical one where it's like a drawer in your desk or in the kitchen or in the bedroom, wherever it is, that you reorganize by taking everything out and redeciding and put things back in again. Because there's stuff in those drawers, I'm pretty sure, that have been there for several years. So it's good to have a chance to go in and sort of vet them. I'm already in my head going, oh, there's about 4 drawers. I want to do that to myself.
Good for you.
So I appreciate that. But the other part is the non physical stuff. And I know we're talking about roses to get into it, but for some people, I'm not saying everybody, for some people, there's definitely, especially if they had a breakup this year, or a family challenge this year, there might be resentments and emotional drawers full of stuff, or drawers full of emotional stuff, so to speak, that
Mhm.
you may have been carrying around for at least a year, maybe not, if not 10 years or more. So part of this completion we're talking about, like the next few days before the end of the year, is to actually, in fact, even to the beginning, if you need to, is to do some sort of clearing out there, because you might discover when you look at back some of the old relationships that you haven't finished resolving. In fact, I did this a while back for myself of cord cutting, which is another conversation, but basically making peace with past relationships, because those past relationships that aren't resolved still have energy inside of us, which fills us up and basically blocks us in some ways to be available for what's next. In fact, that's a big piece of the work to attract a healthy relationship, a new relationship, is to divest yourself of the baggage, the clutter of those past relationships that are still carrying weight inside your system. So it's not just physical stuff. I'm not saying you do everything either, because like you're saying, just do one drawer, not every drawer. It's pick one relationship, family member, past co-worker, whatever it is that you feel have an attachment to, and do something about making peace with it internally, not talking about getting rid of them physically,
Mhm.
to be clear. But you can do some internal work by making peace with that relationship, whether it is some forgiveness work or it's making a phone call and maybe restoring it. You don't know. But if you do
Mhm.
something towards resolution, it's another piece of the puzzle that frees you up for what's next in your life.
So important, because it's like having your closets packed. If you
Yeah,
want to buy something new, there's no place to put it. Or if you want to start including another person in your life, there's no place for them to put their things.
right.
So revisiting old emotions that maybe there's never been a good time, and now you're like, maybe there is a good time. I could look back at what's still a trigger now, what's something that bothers me in the world, or about the people I met over the holidays that aren't even my family. Think about the people that annoyed you and what annoyed you about them. That is often a clue about something
Mm,
that we haven't dealt with from our family of origin or a past romantic relationship. And to say, really dig in about, well, why does that bother me? I don't like that they're judgmental, or I don't like that they hog the conversation. And what bothers you about that? And do you need to get better boundaries, that you stand up for yourself? Do you need to pick people that you're around less time or more time? Or is it that, oh, yeah, that's right, my ex-husband always did that? Well, one of the exercises that Barry and I've talked about is write it down, write all the crap, swear, call them names, don't edit yourself at all, say all the horrible, awful things that you really would like to say to them in person, and for whatever reason can't happen. But say it in something, in writing, and then do something with it. A
yeah.
ritual of purging it. You can tear it in a bunch of pieces and put it down the toilet. You can put it around rocks and put it out in the ocean, or you can do a ceremonial burn where you watch it go up in the smoke. And people just give me funny looks sometimes when I suggest. I go, still, the worst thing that could happen is you wrote down all your things. Lots of people go, it made me feel better. I go, I know. And then the next step, if you're really into it, but you need to do all that first, and
Hmm.
then you write to yourself a nice letter. Dear Christine, I am so sorry from this person. I really screwed up. Boy, I was being really selfish. I never let you say your piece. Wow, that was really hard. I'm so sorry. And have them say all the things that you're just dying to have them say. There's a
Hmm.
second, though. You have to first tell them off and then have them apologize. And it's been fascinating, because most people that I give that assignment to, we've already worked a little and they trust me, but I've given it to a couple friends who are like, okay. They call me, they go, oh my gosh, it helped. I go, I know, because our insides mostly just care that we said the words and heard the words. They don't
Yeah.
care that we did it in this obtuse way where the person wasn't really there. We make that up in our brain, but our
Hmm.
insides that are hurt and our insides that need the apology absolutely hear it. If you do it, write out the mad, write out the apology. Uh, I'd be surprised if it didn't make at least a tiny difference in how you're feeling. And
Yeah.
it's really helpful to just watch for those triggers in the world. They're very helpful.
it's such what's crazy about it is because people think because it doesn't involve the other person or it doesn't involve a massive outlay of energy that it won't work. But the key is about this, and absolutely I concur with you. The idea about is to vent the energy out because it's all inside of us anyway. That's the true story about this, is to really free up energy by getting it out of your system, and then to have that restoration piece back. And oftentimes you can do it where you write to yourself, yes, and writing for the other person is a potent way to do things. Absolutely love that piece, to actually have them, like, you put yourself in the mindset of them apologizing to you so you can feel that sense of completion and wholeness.
Yep.
And the other part as well, even if you want to go even deeper, is to really write a love letter to yourself by you, to tell you how much you appreciate yourself, what you've gone through, to tell yourself how much you've endured, to tell yourself how great you are, and that what you deserve is amazing, because it's affirming for yourself what you want to bring forward next. And so all these little things, which sound so simple, I mean, it's 3 letters, big deal. Yes, big deal.
It is huge, Jerry. We know, we've done it ourselves. We've given it to clients, and it is more than you could imagine satisfying, helpful, whole making. And then if we go back to the cleaning out the drawer thing, there might be some physical remnants, because we're talking about emotional remnants, that you need to just tie up with a ribbon and put away, or do some sort of ritual cleansing of it, making it not part of your physical world anymore. And because that kind of debris, that residual, can just keep being a weight in our lives if it's somebody that we're mad at and we need to have physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually gone from our lives, to when either do one or the other first, the emotional cleansing or the physical cleansing. I think it's really good to balance both, to just look at making a conscious decision about how am I divesting myself of this energy of this person that isn't in your life anymore, or even somebody you have a hard time with. How can you make peace with it? How can you make peace with your mother-in-law, who she's going to be in your life probably forever? I had one of those once, a very long time ago, with my first marriage. And to get to a place where, how could I stop taking her personally and really realize it was her stuff? And I did a lot of writing about that, to just keep myself upright. It was very difficult. I was so darn young. Do much better at it now.
Right.
But how can you keep yourself from giving yourself a hard time, from finding fault with yourself because you're feeling this effect from another person? Because staying conscious with your feelings is a lot of work, and the numbing things don't last forever. And now you come back and sometimes it's worse. So take one thing like the drawer, take one, geez, I have a problem with this person, or geez, I just hate doing this thing because they're there. Write some letters, do some really personal growth about it, so that you now feel less triggered when you are now with them. If they're people that you can't not be with, why be awful feeling every single time you're with them? I mean, one of the things when they, like, I've had somebody, they have all these opinions about what I should do, and you go, wow, okay, I'll think about that, and then walk away and don't think about it, but just walk away.
Yep.
You've left them with, okay, I won, and now you don't have to battle with them. And if they're what they're saying is totally wrong and doesn't have anything to do with you, you go, yeah, I'll think about it. And then you thought about it, and now you don't, and you leave. But don't stay and talk to them if they're annoying you. Say, oh, okay, thanks. Just leave. It's a courteous thing, because the more you engage, the more you're going to feel caught up.
Absolutely.
And I find, at least for me, in my first marriage, we went to a lot of New Year's Eve parties. My husband was even more extroverted than me. And I would, as much as I like talking to people and getting to know people, when I think about New Year's Eve now, so different, I would leave feeling very unsatisfied because I couldn't connect with the people and I didn't feel understood or heard. And so then I said, well, I'm going to still go to these things as long as I'm married to him. But how do I not take all this so personally? It was
Right.
really hard because I took everything personally. So I'm suggesting that if you're going to go out and do stuff, put on I'm not taking things personally, invisibility cloak of Harry Potter, and see if that can help. Because too often we just want to stay holed up because this is a very good reason not to go out. But then we get lonely and desperate, and that makes us not good daters. So
Right.
here's another way to go out and not come home feeling depleted. Hopefully, it's just a little suggestion that I learned the hard way.
As yes, as we've both learned lessons over the years that we can teach other people, we definitely have um, explored the negative ways of doing this too, as well as the positive ways of doing it. One thing I add to that, I mean, the image I had when you talk about that was kind of like the phrase like "water off a duck's back," is that one of the best, I don't say victories, but one of the best ways of dealing with people who have this desire to be right and trying to convince you that you're wrong is to walk away free of that. And the way you described it is perfect, because it really is a sense of understanding that you're not there to engage, because engagement is basically they win anyway. And your chances of winning are so slim, it's not worth the fight. There's one of the other ones I've done before, and this is something that's become interesting because it dumbfounds people, is when somebody's in the position of wanting to be right, and you just simply say, you're right, and walk away.
Yeah.
It confused them even more because they wanted to win a victory, but they got it without fighting, and then they don't want to do with it. They wanted the fight to make them see themselves feel empowered or whatever it was. When we walk away, because the truth is, saying somebody's right doesn't mean anything. It may be, because the thing is, what you're really saying to them is that you're right in your perception. It's not the same as my perception, so you don't have to take on anything they're saying as being right for you either. And I mean, frankly, this is a way of life, not just in New Year's stuff we're talking about here, but it's a game changer for many people who've been trained or have been educated to be people pleasers, or to always be in a conflict or a fight because it's the only way to get their point across. Sometimes the best way to get your point across is not even bother trying to do it in the first place.
Because they'll never hear it.
No, because you want and walk away with your ego and your heart intact is a much healthier way of doing things. Absolutely.
And I love that point. And I would think about, how in the books where somebody's talking and then they put parentheses about something they're thinking. So what you say out loud is you're right. And then in parentheses, you think in your mind.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of these secret
way of feeling.
It's like one of the secret ways to empowerment.
So we started out talking about what could you be clearing out? What's going to get you started on a feeling like I have some energy, I have some purpose, I have some thoughts about how I'm closing out the year. And I think also we need to go, what did you learn? The hard lessons, the good lessons, the soft lessons, the challenging lessons. Because I think so often we only look back at how we screwed up and what went wrong and not see, well, what did I learn from that? And how am I going to make that different? And maybe I did do something differently, as well as how to make a plan of what the next thing is. And then to say, well, what do I want to learn next? Maybe I can get ahead of the curve. Wow, I learned that I kind of was susceptible to scammers. So now I'm aware there's scammers. I'm going to learn all I can about how to recognize scammers if you're using dating apps. That would be a really good thing to make a goal. So then you're like, oh, that's not going to happen to me again. I'm going to be proactive about it. Right. Or I spend a lot of time on the couch. Okay, I got to spend out time with my pet. I did some reflecting. I did some reading. I think I might like to get out a little. So I'm going to look up 3 meetups because I'd like to do more walking and I don't like walking alone. So I'll see if I can find a meetup that walks. Or I really like going to the movies, but I don't like going to the movies alone. I'll see if there's a meetup for movies. And you're not joining anything at this moment. You're just doing research because that can feel pretty easy and not so scary to just research. So this is when you're thinking about, I would like to have see 5 movies by this time next year. Well, one of the ways I could do that is to go to a meetup where they do movies. Or I'd like to have my Apple Watch tell me that I walked 10,000 steps a day. Well, I'll join people that go hiking or walking. I have all these local parks. I have these local lakes. I think there's people that walk there, and then I'd have company and maybe I'll make new friends. So to think about between now and the end of 2024, what kinds of things would you like to have more, different, the same, and lay plans? Just laying the plans. Because it's like the drawer. You're going to do one thing. You're not going to clean out your whole entire house, because that can feel too overwhelming. Those New Year's resolutions, I think, which is why I'm not using that word at all. I'm going to say out loud, I'm not using that word.
Same here, right?
Feel daunting. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel unattainable. And the point of our conversations is to help you always feel successful in moving forward and accomplished. So that's why we were going to give you these little tiny bites to see how you can start out your new year right.
So I'm going to say, where do I start with this? First of all, the Apple Watch thing just got my attention because I hadn't had a consistent exercise or health focus for a long time. I mean, I used to go to Gold's Gym back in the day, and it was like, fanatical working there because I had workout partners. That's the other thing. Working out together makes it much easier than doing it on your own. But I finally got an Apple Watch it was before the pandemic, so it's going to be maybe 4 years ago. And the funny thing is I just got it because I wanted a fancy timepiece to work with my iPhone. What I didn't realize was it becomes a training addiction because I decided to start doing some things, and it nudges. I mean, it's this was well written as genius because it's encouraging. It's not challenging, it's encouraging. And so I happened to start using it, started doing some exercise, and I started basically going hiking the local hills because I was getting antsy. I wanted to do something. Now it's a daily commitment, and it's every morning. Now before I do anything, it's like get up, brush your teeth, go hiking. So it's the first thing you do in the morning. And my Apple Watch is my loyal cohort because it keeps me on track. And so then the great thing is with the software, and I'm just telling you, not advertising the phone or the technology, but the idea of it is that it creates a reward system because you get an award if you accomplish certain goals inside the app. It's on the phone.
Yep.
Those rewards are purely pictures. They're not anything physical, but the feeling of accomplishment I get from them, and I'm sure other people who use this do the same thing too. It's a feeling of pride in ourselves that we did something we thought we wanted to do. So yes, some of these things are harder to do than other things. I mean, I haven't checked off any of the yoga ones or the running ones because it's not my thing, but the hiking ones I do and the walking ones I do, But even things like standing up are little reminders that the phone watch does, which is great. So it keeps you in a place of focusing on your health without having to focus on your health, sort of thing. And so,
I know.
And the idea being is that, in the new year, again, small steps, is you can set up your goals in the software as small or as big as you want. And again, as we said, encouragement, set them up small. You can always add to them later. But things that you pick up along the way, a friend of mine, there's another thing I picked up. Started doing it a month ago. A friend of mine who I met up with recently, she was in town from Colorado. She's going through a cure. She's healing cancer, basically. And one of the things she's doing is fitness. And one of her commitments to herself, and she started posting on social media, and I saw this and it got me inspired. She started to do, doing a plank pose, which is, that straight body on your forearms. And I thought, I used to do those many years ago, but it's not, I mean, because it's only, I'm not doing long. I'm just doing like 90 seconds. I'm not doing it like for 10 minutes, but I'm building up. And it's just like doing that every day, every morning, just when I get back from the hike. It's like, before I change into my normal clothes, like, let me just do that as a simple add-on. So I'm not committing to a 2-hour workout, but I'm doing little things, little steps. And they say this plank pose started a month ago. I'm doing it like 90 seconds. I might do 2 minutes next month. We'll see. I'm going to play with it because this consistency is a simple thing that we can all do, take care of ourselves. So I know it's not so about relationships at the moment, but the idea of taking baby steps in all areas, like you were saying with the meetups, to get out and do things socially, we can meet somebody, not to do them so you do meet somebody, but by coincidence or by accident, you might bump into somebody that go, that's a nice person. Let me find out more about them. We talked about this in many shows previously about how to get out and do social activities you love to do, because you might meet somebody else who also loves those things that could become an ideal partner. So choosing to do activities out in the world that take you away from your computer or from your home to socialize other people. First of all, it owns your social skills, but secondly, who knows who you could meet. So
It's true.
doing things that you participate in as a way just to up-level your social credit, so to speak, is a wise thing to do as a New Year commitment as well. Again, not hard to do, something you do in small doses, but you can build up that muscle.
And look how you smile when you talk about it, Barry. Here's
Yeah.
something you're doing for yourself,
Mhm.
by yourself, and you still get, because we think we need to be out in the world and have people telling us, which I
Right.
love words of appreciation, and that's an okay thing. And by doing this, where you have your daily walk and you get your rewards from your phone, and now you're adding on the plank, which is really admirable,
Thank you.
you start feeling better about yourself. You start
Mhm.
being more positive, more accomplished. And the self-confidence, we have said out loud, both sexes find it very sexy.
Yeah.
Both men and women say all the time, gosh, they're so self-confident. I find that so sexy. So
Mhm.
doing this internal work is really important. So you have a
Yeah.
friend who suggested something. I have a friend who suggested something. They said,
Mhm.
pick one thing to do every day 5 times. I don't care what it is. It could be the kind where you sit on a chair and you stand up 5 times. You lean on the kitchen counter, you lift each of your legs 5 times. Stop. That's it for the whole day, 5 times. And I said, all right, I'll add that to my thing. Well, then I'm
Right.
like, I'm not stopping at 5, after a day. Or,
Yeah.
well, I think I could do a second thing 5 times. And I had total permission to stop at 5, which I did. And then I was like, well, and as you said, the reward, our bodies are made to move.
Mhm.
That's part of a factory installation. It was made to move. We need to keep lubricated. We need to stay limber. I am so not a limber person, but if I don't, I can get so stiff.
Right.
So doing anything that has you do something, when you set your phone every half hour, get up and go to get a drink of water, get up and go look out the window.
Right.
Because the more sedentary we are, I think for me, certainly, the more bad I feel, the more tired I feel, the more sluggish brain I feel, and then I can't even go clean out a drawer.
Mhm.
So adding something that moves your body, even 5 times, it was
Yeah.
pretty reasonable 5 times. And who knows what you could end up doing, even if you stay with 5 times. It's perfectly lovely. And I've had people who said, I did leg lifts before I got out of bed. Good. Don't even get out of
Mhm.
bed. Do it in bed. I thought that was, I said, they thought I was going to get, I said, no, I'm not upset. You did 5 leg lifts while you were in bed. Good for you.
Mhm.
Now you're done for the whole day. You don't have to do one more thing if you don't want it.
Right.
So that was a really fun outcome because I hadn't thought about that. I thought you have to get up to do something. No, they did it in bed.
Nope. But I want to speak. I just want to make sure people are hearing this because we're talking about different odds and ends and little things. But the thing about starting a new year, right, as we put in the title, it's really about having the opportunity to make your life better incrementally, step by step. The thing about this idea is oftentimes when we get a change in lifestyle very briefly, very abruptly, very quickly, sometimes changes back very abruptly and quickly too. And so when we build up a habit or a routine or a commitment to ourselves, whether it's exercise or it's a way of doing things at home, is it health based, or it's something we do with reading, or we go join a club and do some other things out in the world, those simple pieces start to accumulate. I did a thing, I've done it for a while because I decided I would do something different, but keeping a gratitude journal. Just commit to writing down 3 things at the end of each day that you're grateful for. It could be the fact you got through the day. It could be the fact that you met somebody new. It could be the fact that you drank enough water. I mean, whatever it is, just things you're grateful for, you've done for yourself. To do that practice every night for the year, you'll be amazed what it feels like. Because the thing is, 3 a day is not much. But at the end of the year, it's over 1,000 you've written down. That's the power of accumulative work. So whatever you're doing that is, in quotes, baby steps or small steps towards the direction you want to go, over a period of a year, you can transform your life in so many areas. Whether it's, reading books, another one. One of the things for me is I I have audiobooks that I'm starting to get back into to do more consistently, because reading is something that I don't always find time for. But when I'm hiking, I've got time. So I can plug in my earbuds and just, listen to an audiobook. So
Mhm.
there are ways to do things. If you have a long commute to work, if you're working a day job, or if you're going to visit family on the weekends, whatever you're doing, if you've got a long drive, stick an audiobook on. So you can have input and education and transformation in your life whilst you're doing other things.
Yeah.
So,
I do it when
lots of
I'm
people,
gardening. I have a
there you go.
CD player that I do it when I'm gardening. Yeah.
Hmm.
And you
Easy.
can listen to our podcast.
Indeed, you can. I forgot about that. Excuse me. Yes, you can listen to podcasts like ours when you're out and about.
You can take this with you.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. And the accumulation is so important because I remember when Oprah had the woman whose name I never remember that did the gratitude journal. And I would sometimes say, I mean, I'm a pretty grateful person. And still, I think, "Oh, I have to come up with my 3 things for tonight because I'm really big on commitment." And it would make
Right.
me really pay attention even more to what
Hmm.
things I was grateful for during the day. So, because I didn't want to, I mean, start out with kind of benign things, but I accepted the challenge and I was going to come up with really do new different just for me. Nobody else saw it. And it was helpful during the day to go, okay, what am I doing? And what oh, I'd write that. And it made me even internalize it more, that cool thing that happened. I'm like, oh, that's the thing I'm in. So then I saw it, I thought about it, and then I wrote about it later that night, which is
Hmm.
like getting the trifecta of grateful. How cool is that?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so
It was,
easy.
she sold so many, I think because it was such a feel positive exercise. There was
Yeah.
even the challenge of coming up with 3 things and the pressure. I think very few people had negative feelings about it. I think most people went, yeah, I felt better. And then you had this
Mm,
whole lovely book filled with all these things that you were grateful for in your life. How nice is that? So that's
that's
what you're
awesome.
saying. If you write down something, you now have 1,000 things that if you get to the end of 2024 and you're like, what did I accomplish? What did happen? Because, we don't always
Right.
remember. Now you actually have a tangible thing to go back and read. Oh, yeah, look at what I learned. Oh, yeah, look what I overcome. Came.
Hmm.
Yeah, cool.
Now, I want to
So
drop a little
that's a
thing in.
really easy thing to start at the beginning of the
Oh,
year.
yeah, absolutely. I want to drop a little thing in here because we did mention it earlier, but this is the time of year where people start thinking about resolutions. I want to talk about that for a second, because you said yourself, which I agree with, we don't do resolutions. The challenge with resolutions for me is that most people look at them as a punishment.
Hmm.
Well, no, excuse me, not as a punishment, but the side effect of it is it acts like a punishment, because we feel like we have to accomplish this goal or we pay a price, and that's not a healthy way to do things. So what we've been suggesting so far, and we'll keep talking about these things, are steps you can take that are incremental, that may not have any consequence in themselves, but cumulatively they can be transformational. And I talk a lot about intentions in my work, which is basically, you can be spiritual about it. It's like when you infuse it with a spiritual energy, but the intention is a leaning into something versus a pushing against something. Because for me, the idea of having resolutions is you're pushing against something, you're resolving to change something, so it's more um, combative in a way. And so the over the intentions is about flowing into something more grace, more ease, more effortlessness. So if you do want to put down that you want to have a certain thing happen this year, write it in the form of an intention, like I intend to, or I am having this experience. In fact, better yet, and I talk about this in my work, I'm doing this myself right now, is I've created a whole bunch of affirmations in different areas that I'm using as part of a new project I'm working on.
Yeah.
Affirmations are in the moment ownership statements. So you're not saying I will be doing this, you're saying I am doing this, or I am experiencing, or I am
Mhm.
whatever it is. So if you want to set up some statements about your new year that are supporting your vision of where you want to go, write them as an affirmational statement and put them somewhere you'll see them, like on the bathroom mirror or on your computer screen or your phones that pops up in your calendar, however you want to do it, that you can use as a way that you don't have to think about it, but they're there when you see them.
Yeah.
And if you do that sort of simple processing, it's internal in a way, because it's changing your mindset and changing your beliefs, but it becomes an incremental piece that, again, at the end of the year, you'll be amazed what happens.
So true. Incremental things is so important.
Yeah.
So let's say you set up an intention, you set up it as affirmation, and you don't do it today. So you go, not to give yourself a hard time. See, that's the problem with resolutions, the whole punishment
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Hmm, why didn't I? Does it feel scary to do that? Why does it feel scary? Oh, I don't think I'll get enough of a reward for the time it would take. What could I do about each of those things? Could I call a friend? Could I say, okay, I'm not doing a drawer today. I'm going to fix my calendar, or I'm going to go for a walk. Because what we think happens is if I don't do that, I have totally 100% failed. There's nothing good. What I find is I learn. I'm not in the mood. It feels really hard. I didn't get enough sleep for that. I could move it to tomorrow. I might want to do it with, now I know I want to do it with somebody. So I'll call a friend. Maybe we can do it next week. And what else am I going to do? What else could I do?
Yes.
Because when you set these intentions, it all sounds lovely at the moment, but it might not work out at that moment. There's all sorts of things that happen. And you go, okay, not doing that. And this is why I'm not doing it. I have a really good reason to not do it. And I'm going to do this instead. That will still make me feel accomplished. It still feels good to do, because it's what I hear from, I know some people that run diet things. And so often they've had to have that conversation with people that, well, I ate a lot at Thanksgiving. Okay. That I didn't fail? No. I also saw this really fun thing on Facebook that I loved about food. It's not what you eat between Thanksgiving and New Year's. It's what you eat between New Year's and Thanksgiving.
I like it.
That worked for me a lot.
Yeah.
Because I do like all that holiday food. So that you give yourself grace and parameters to be human, please. We're not robots. We can't just yank our feelings around. We need to address them. Well, honey, is that a hard thing for you to do to yourself? Okay, well, then we'll do something else. Or maybe you just need a break. You can clean out half the drawer and then you get a break, and then you're going to come clean the other half. You're going to take it all out, and then you're going to go have lunch, and then you're going to come back and put it together. Maybe you just needed food. You needed a snack. You needed lunch. You needed to stare outside, and then you're going to come back. It's not like you're never going to do it. You don't let yourself completely off the hook about not doing it, but you don't beat yourself up, because the more you beat yourself up, then the worse it feels to do this thing. And then you don't feel accomplished at the end. How sad is that? I like lots of rewards. I'm all about rewards.
I think most people are ultimately, but a lot of people don't give themselves the benefit of having the opportunity by making things harder to accomplish to get an award. The thing about it is we don't really understand scale in terms of how things are. To flip the script or something, there's a story about that how elephants can be tied to a stake by a rope and they're never run away at a circus. It's because when they're very young, they're tied to a stake by a chain, which they can't move. And so eventually they keep trying and trying, they give up. And as they get older, the circus people can use a thinner and thinner piece of chain and then of rope that the elephant won't fight against, because it's in trained habit. Well, flip it around the other way. Rather than doing the heavy stuff, do the small stuff you can accomplish and build that habit into a routine. So what you discover, especially if you do things like gratitude every day, that you do it is effortful for the first week or two, because you have to keep thinking, oh, I need to do that. I need to do that. But as time goes by, it becomes a habit that's almost like unconscious. You don't think about it anymore. So same as it can be a negative habit, because a lot of us have picked up negative habits when we were younger that we've not really consciously thought about for a long time. You can instill positive ones the same way by being cumulative. And that idea of having a simple thing that goes, that's not big enough. It's not important enough, because people think New Year should be very dynamic. It's like, no, put in place as a suggestion 3 different things that you'll commit to doing once a week, once a day for yourself that are easily achievable within 5 minutes. Maybe it's exercise, maybe it's writing, maybe it's running, maybe it's calling somebody, maybe whatever it is for you that works. Just pick up 3 things you can do every week through the whole year, maybe, but start off with the first week and see what happens. The other part of these things also is, if you're starting a new year and you're going to do that whole plan, it's not always easy to predict what the year's going to bring you. So don't necessarily predict that you need to do it for 6 months or a year first. Just say for the first week or the first month, and then renegotiate, decide along the way, because ultimately your whole year could be way bigger than you planned, but you just weren't ready for it yet. So start with simpler things you can achieve, because doesn't have to be game changing from the get-go.
Yes. And if you don't have an Apple Watch that rewards you every time you do anything wonderful physically,
Right.
I mean, give yourself a gold star.
Hmm.
Put a dollar in a jar and take yourself to the movies because you rewarded yourself. We like rewards. We do. And whatever it is you need in the beginning, as small, incremental, good job. That was hard and you did it. Wow, you accomplished that thing. It took you a while and you did it. You got to the end. Come up with a reward system. It's so important. I mean, the most successful kindergarten teachers I ever knew had rewards for kids. I said, I think bribing is really important. I bribe myself all the time. You're going to make that hard phone call and then you can go have lunch. But we need to
And
do
why,
it before lunch.
and why
Yes.
stop at a kindergarten?
And
Keep
what?
going. Why stop at
Yeah,
kindergarten? Keep going through your whole life.
but I think we're like trained from then and we have not changed. We just got taller.
Hmm. Indeed.
Oh, I hope that we have given you some really good help to help you feel like you're leaving this year on good footing, better footing than you began it, and can start the next year on even more firm footing. And if you're like, I don't know what to do, I'm still confused, it all feels too hard, Barry and I are here to talk to you about that.
Yeah, indeed.
So the way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, www.theperfectcatch.com, and click on What's Holding You Back from Love. And you can have access to my online calendar and schedule an hour complimentary conversation with me. And we will get you started out with your New Year right. I promise. You can also join my mailing list through there, and you'll get a repeat of the podcast and the announcement next week about my class starting again. And you can also join all my social media. At the bottom of my website are all the symbols for Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Threads and X, silly names, and YouTube and Pinterest. That's a lot to keep track of.
I
And you can
understand.
also send me a personal email at Christine, Christine, at theperfectcatch.com. And Barry, please tell people how to reach you.
Well, thank you for asking. Absolutely. For me, I have a much easier way in a sense because my name is on all of my social media and my website. So if you go to barryselby.com, that's Selby. You can soon see my new site. It's getting so close. So the design's almost ready. So hopefully before too long, it's definitely in the new year, I'll have a brand new website to share excitedly with everybody. At the top of the screen on the current site, you can definitely click on take your next step, which links you into my calendar so you can get a session with me to discover where you are, where you want to go, and what you're looking for. And that definitely can help you with this New Year's transformational experience we're talking about here. Also on my site at the bottom of the screen, you can jump into my email list, or I should say sign up for my email list, and that way you'll get these emails sent out to you every week with a replay of our show. And by the way, one of your New Year's resolutions, New Year's intentions, not resolutions, might be to listen to our podcast every week. I'll share about that in a second. But definitely, if you go to my site, you can jump in my email list and get support and everything else. If you want to test drive my new relationship readiness quiz that I created, that's now live. You go to barryselby.com/quiz, where you can actually go through the questions and decide for yourself where you are on this relationship path and if you want to get help or not. Up to you. No pressure, no fee. Just check it out and see for yourself. Social media, you can find me all over the place. My name again is my handle on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Threads, and Pinterest and other places too. On Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby, as my old account got changed out. And definitely reach out if you want some help. You can drop an email to me as well at barryselby.com. And whatever you do, celebrate yourself with a new year. Well, thank you for putting the quiz up there. That's beautiful. If you're on the podcast, she wrote up there for me my link, which is barryselby.com/quiz. If you're watching it, you see that. My wish for you is you have an amazing 2024, however you navigate it, but definitely take our advice to heart. You might be surprised, joy-filled, and actually feeling accomplished when you discover how easy it is to succeed in 2024. So join us in the new year for our show as well.
Yeah, hopefully part of the intentions is to watch us every week live, 1:00 Pacific and 4:00 Eastern, and all the times in between, and to listen to our podcasts on Spotify and Apple, and you can watch us on all the streaming services, including the Going Solo Media website. And we would love to have you share it with people that are also having challenges in their dating and relationship lives, and to like us and subscribe. That we would just be very grateful. We want to keep sharing the word and helping other people have a really good 2024, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we will see you
So
next week,
it's
starting
a
our
new
new
year.
year.
We'll
Yeah.
see you next year.
Yeah, we will.
Take care of yourselves.
Bye for now.
Bye.